Hi there. Welcome again to Aaron's Wine Talk. And again, we're going to talk about another superb wine, a red wine, which is called Montepulciano d'Abruzzo. Yeah, this wine is from Abruzzo. It is a region on the east coast of Italy, on the Adriatic Sea, in the center of Italy, towards the east on the Adriatic coast. So you get the sea breezes of the sea coming in to obviously improve and moderate the hot temperatures of the area, especially in summer. And the wine is labeled as Testarossa. It is a wine which is made by Pasetti. So Pasetti is the producer. Testarossa is the brand. It's similar, obviously, to a Ferrari, but it's not. But believe me, the quality is like driving a Ferrari car, super Testarossa, and it really deserves this name. And I will show you why it will deserve this name. Because it is a wine of top quality. Yeah? This wine is imported by Vintage & Co. René gets this wine from Centanni. And the vintage is not very young, but it's a 2015 vintage. And the level of alcohol is at 14.5%, which is extremely high level of alcohol, meaning it's a hot climate area. It's a grape which reaches high levels of sugar, Montepulciano grapes, thick-skinned grapes, very small berries that give a lot of color and tannin to the wine. But however, please remember, there is inexpensive Montepulciano, mid-priced Montepulciano, high-priced and premium Montepulciano, so depending upon the quality of the grapes grown. The climate in Abruzzo is a typical maritime climate. You have the sea affecting it, so moderating the hot temperatures. And you also have altitude over there. You have the Apennines, which is the spine of Italy. It goes towards the center of Italy, divides Italy in two halves. And on the east part, you have 550 meters above sea level. That means that temperature decreases by zero point 0.6 degrees every 100 meters. So that means that the level of acidity is going to increase. In fact, you have a hot climate thanks to the mountains. You get, or else we call it altitude. It is a type of microclimate which is very suitable for giving such high acidity levels in hot climates, weather patterns. Yeah. So on viticulture, the wine is very old vines. The vine is at least 40-year-old vines. It has a very long history in Abruzzo of growing Montepulciano grapes. It is indigenous to this region. And the 40-year-old vines means vine age. The higher the vine age, the older the vine is, the better the quality. The lower the yield, the quantity is less, but the quality will be amazing. When the vines are young, the quality will be okay, but not at the top level, but the quantity will be higher. Yeah. So at pruning stage, when you cut the old wood in winter, you have to ensure that you cut the right amount of wood so that you don't have so many bunches of grapes coming out in autumn. And like that, when the yield is lowered, you have a better quality wine. The yield is at normal 40 hectoliters per hectare, which is quite low. And that means that the producer of Pasetti wants to make a wine of quality. This is called a Tenuta di Pasetti. A Tenuta is a winery. It can be a farmhouse, it can be a villa, and they have they call it also fattoria, masseria, maso, and they have different meanings for wineries in Italy. And Pasetti likes calling it a Tenuta, which most of the wineries in Italy are called Tenutas. Yeah. Vinification wise, this is fermented on the skins and maceration on the skins for 20 days at warm temperatures. So you don't have a very long maceration process. This is because the thick skins of Montepulciano, of old vines of 40-year-old, will give a lot of color and tannin. But the heat will help extract the color and tannin from the skins of the grape. You will see that the wine is very deep in intensity. A feature which, a viticultural aspect, which surprised me a lot on this wine, was the fact that the vintage, or else the picking of the grapes, was done very late. In fact, they picked them on the third week of October up to the beginning of November. So a late harvest time, not making a sweet wine. They want to reach high sugar levels, and that confirms the fact that the wine is at 14.5%. But it seems they want ripeness of fruit character. The more you leave the grapes on the vine, the more ripeness of grapes you're going to have, even for black grapes. And the ripeness will come out, and we will see it as well in the tasting notes. When you come to taste the wine, there's a reason for everything. As we said before, the reason is in the vineyard. It is in the vineyard and in the winery when you make the wine. Good grapes will make good wine. Bad grapes is going to make bad wine. It's all that. Yeah. On vinification part, continuing on it, the wine is matured for 12 months in stainless steel tanks, and like that it preserves the flavors of the grape. It needs time to mature and aerate because it's quite full-bodied as a style. And then the wine is subjected to oak treatment. But here they don't use small oak barrels. The large barrels are used. They are 20 hectoliters large. So the larger the surface ratio effect, the lower the amount of oak you're going to affect the wine. The lower the surface ratio, the smaller the surface ratio effect, the more affection of oak. So most Italian wineries don't like affecting so much the oak to the wine. So they use larger oak barrels, and the larger they are, the less the oak influence. Yeah, oak influence would be the smokiness, the toastiness, the vanilla, sweet spices coming in, a bit of tobacco coming in, nuttiness in the wine, especially for white wines. And we're going to see this in the wine as well. And this is for a period from 18 months to 22 months. So it's nearly up to 2 years with oak treatment. And that would mean that the wine it can support the oak treatment for a very long time, meaning it's quite full-bodied in style. I'm very curious to know the tannins, how they will be. The wine then has an automatic malolactic fermentation. With 22 months in oak, immediately malolactic fermentation, we also call it MLF. It is the malic acid in the wine, which is like tasting a very acidic apple, a green apple, that needs to be transformed into lactic acid, which is much softer, which you find in milk and in yogurt production. And that is done with a secondary fermentation. So after first fermentation, it undergoes a secondary fermentation with the affection of lactobacillus bacteria, yeast. Yeast, which is found in the atmosphere, which can also inoculate with lactobacillus bacteria. It will attack the malic acids and transform it into lactic acid. And that will mean it will give an aroma of butter. Yes, a buttery aroma, making it creamier, softer, smoother. And especially for red wines which have high levels of tannin, that level of bitterness will go down. Yeah, and malolactic fermentation is the way of making wine in today's modern world, especially for red wines. For white wines, we tend not to use so much MLF because in white wines it's very important to preserve the level of acidity in the wine. There's no tannin in white wine. So that level of acidity cannot be lost because of malolactic fermentation. But it is used for white wines for the neutral grapes, like the wine number 2 we've just talked of, for a Chablis, for a Chardonnay, which is quite neutral in style. Yes, malolactic fermentation is one way of giving it aromas and flavors to the wine. Yeah, we don't use this for aromatic grape varieties so much. Otherwise, you can ruin the style. You can, but the style would change. Yeah, depends on the style that the winemaker would like to make. Yeah. So let us come now to the tasting of the wine. Yes, the soil. A very important part I missed out is the soil. The soil is clay, based on clay. So clay is very, very good porosity and drainage for the roots of the vine. And it's also mixed with calcareous, limestone soils, calcium-based soils. And that will also give mineral quality to the wine with some skeleton and fossils in the soil. So that's going to give a mineral and earthy taste character, which I think we're going to find both on the nose and on the palate. Let us see now to come to taste the wine appearance, nose, palate. It's always good to take a white background. When you have a white background, you can see better the color of the wine. I have here, in fact, just a piece of paper, a white paper, and you can see better the color of the wine. Remember that this is the vintage 2015, so after 5 years, it should change to a ruby garnet color. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this wine is literally ruby, a very bright ruby color, with hints of purple on the rim. So after 5 years in the bottle, this wine still has a purple tinge. Amazing. That means it's a sign not of development, but of youthfulness. This is still young. This still needs to open up. It still needs to breathe. It still gives me an indication that this wine has a very long aging potential. So remember, a bright ruby color with that hint of purple will indicate youth in such a wine which was matured for 22 months in oak. So when you have 22 months in oak, it can easily change to a garnet color. It did not happen. And it did not happen because the wine has structure, concentration, probably high in tannins as well, and therefore it could resist that long amount of oak maturation. Amazing. I'm really, really surprised on this color. It's got a very deep intensity, meaning it's very, very, very deep, so thick skins, and that deepness can go into pale intensity with age. So this wine has a very long aging potential. Yes, you assess deepness or intensity on the appearance. Put a finger underneath for a red wine. Look on top. If you don't see your finger, that means it's deep, thick skins. If you see your finger, that will be pale. If you see it a bit, that would be a medium intense wine. Looking at the legs, look how tinted they are. You can see that when I swirl, just right there on the monitor. And you can see that they are highly tinted and highlighted. That is extreme color extraction from the skins of the grape. Amazing vintage year they had. Probably 2015 was always a good vintage year, even in Italy, like in Bordeaux in France. It's amazing how maybe the climate in Europe is quite similar. And the alcohol are extreme long legs. You can see that they are very, very thick, meaning high alcohol will give me a sign of a full-bodied, robust, concentrated red wine. Yeah, but there could be a problem. The wine is high in alcohol at 14.5. That can be very burning here at the back palate. If it burns, it would be out of balance. We have to assess that on the palate. When I'm swirling, a curious indication is a lot of sediment and deposits go down the sides of the glass. These wines need to be decanted because this wine has not been given the last filtration before bottling. In other words, no machinery was used for filtering this wine, only natural methods of racking and fining were used. These are natural, laborious methods that they use in order to remove the dead yeast, the sediment from the wine. But the winemaker did not want to do that because if you use equipment and machinery, you will lose a lot from the character of the wine. Yeah, so this winemaker was very, very wise in not using that type of machinery. On the nose, nice one, nose in. Wow, very complex leather. We said that when we smell leather in wine number one in Chateau Urbano, which was a Medoc wine from Bordeaux, leather is a sign of complexity, an animal character. Yes, after 5 years, that leather is still there, but it's still youthful on the nose because of the presence of black fruit. I get black currant, blackberry, blueberry, black cherries, black plums, all the black forest fruits. Amazing. Wild strawberries. I also get licorice. Yes, licorice is a pungent spice. It gives spiciness to the wine. There's a lot of black pepper aroma. You can confuse this wine to a Syrah in a blind tasting session. That's how I would have said. It would have been a Syrah, the closest bet, because guessing a Testarossa Montepulciano is not easy blind tasting. Yeah, you need some very, very good knowledge on this region and this grape variety in order to guess this wine. But it's very similar to a Chianti or a Sangiovese style, or even a Grenache of Châteauneuf-du-Pape from the south of Rhône. It has that similarity. Seeing it on the nose or feeling it on the nose, that leather, animal, meat, game, savory, that is a lot of tertiary coming in. And it means that with age, the fruit will be overcome by the tertiary characteristics. So this wine is definitely fully complex at its best. There's no signs of simplicity in this wine. On the secondary aromas, I get oak, smoke, toast, vanilla, sweet spices, cumin, cinnamon and nutmeg coming in, and with age, more sweet spices coming out. So again, this wine is going to match the sweet spices in food, in red meat stews, slow cooking foods. This is a lot of umami. Umami in the wine, umami in the food. Body in the wine, texture in the food. Yeah, these are always the basic rules of wine and food pairing. Plus, there is that creamy texture aroma of butter. That buttery aroma which has the full malolactic fermentation, meaning that this wine is totally smoked. I would say that the palate, I'm very curious now, will confirm everything. This is the first time I'm tasting this wine. I like to taste new wines, never tasted them before. So, and with different producers, I've tasted Montepulcianos, but not from this producer. So, obviously, now I can give you a better tasting note. On the palate, let's kiss and swirl the wine in the mouth. We said 14.5% alcohol. Yeah? It's not burning at all. It is so complex, so structured, so full bodied in style that the alcohol doesn't overpower anything else. This wine is totally dry, although late harvested. It's dry, 3 grams per liter residual sugar, it said on the technical specification. So 3 grams per liter is dry. It's residual sugar, meaning it is sugar that has not been fermented by the yeast. Yeah? And that indicates definitely a bone dry time. The tannins are there. They are high. They are pulling me. They're astringent in character. So it needs to soften with age. And it softens in the bottle. Yeah, when it matures in the bottle, in the cellar at 15 degrees or up to 18 degrees. Yeah, it's full body in style, so the temperature should be served maximum 18, not more, not more than that. Otherwise, you're going to ruin the style of wine. Yeah. So high in tannin, but there's a hint of softness and ripeness of the tannins. Yeah, so the tannins are high but very ripe in nature, but very earthy as well. I get the earthiness of the argilo-calcaire type of soils, the clay calcareous soils of Abruzzo, very, very typical. And the acidity is not high level, like the Chablis, obviously, because that would be a very cold climate. This acidity is on a medium plus level. So it's there, but on the high side. Yeah, not on the high level, because obviously it's quite full bodied as a wine, and the tendency of the acidity tends to go down a bit in such a warm climate. Yeah, remember, Bordeaux is more a moderate climate, it is more a maritime climate, very similar to here, but there's more altitude here. So that level of acidity is coming from the 550 meters above sea level we just talked about. Yeah? So full bodied, concentrated, extremely robust to match full textured dishes, and the finish is totally long and beautifully length. That we have a long finish will also indicate a long aging potential. The flavors are the same as the nose. You get the black fruit character, black currants, blackberry, soft forest fruits, black cherries, black plums, secondary aromas of oak, smoke, toast, vanilla, even sweet spices of a bit of cinnamon coming on the palate, a bit different to the nose. So it is opening up. And surely it's going to benefit from long cellar aging, plus the tertiary characteristics which make it complex. And that is leather, animal character, meat, game, savory, wet leaves, forest floor I get, like walking in a forest and smelling the earthiness of that forest. Taste it again. It's there. Beautiful. I get mushrooms. Wet leaves. Very good to pair with a steak with mushrooms. Pour any type of mushroom would do. Even truffles would do. with this wine, which are very, very complex, especially in the north part of Italy, where they are famous for tartufi. So imagine a tartufi-based dish or a truffle paste dish, which you can easily buy today from different retail shops of quality, of gourmet shops, and you can easily blend this wine with that type of dish. Um, as a conclusion, I would say that this wine is excellent again, quite nearly to the outstanding side. Not outstanding maybe because of the level of acidity, which is not on the high side, but definitely if you like a full-bodied style with high alcohol, a bit of licorice coming in, spiciness of black pepper as well, good with black peppercorn sauce. Definitely, this is going to be your bet. Yeah, this is not good for a person who doesn't like full-bodied styles, but we're going to have light-bodied styles as we go along. Yeah, in the process. Yeah, so this confirms everything: balance of alcohol, fruit, acidity, tannin. All are nearly on the high side, and all are very well integrated together. Yeah, that means that this wine can have long aging, minimum 10 years plus in the bottle. It already has 5 years, 2015, we're in 2020, and that means I would say 10 years plus, even 10, 15 years would easily benefit. In all, this wine can easily age for 20 years. Always aged for 15 degrees in a cellar. And when you come to serve it, you serve it at 18 degrees as it's considered as a full-bodied style of red wine. Food match, we said this. Texture in the wine, texture in the food. You need structure, concentration. A nice braciole dish with this wine. Rabbit, venison. Rabbit cooked the way you want it. In garlic, in gravy, in tomato sauce as a stew. All type of game dishes and venison and four-legged animals like wild boar. Amazing on the texture. Talcaccia, we call them, these type of dishes. The hunting birds and animals that are typical suited for this wine. Truffles, mushrooms, black peppers. Huh? But definitely you need red meat. Remember that the protein content of the meat is going to soften the tannins on the palate. So the tannins can soften with two things: only with bottle aging, as you mature it in the bottle at the right temperature, and by the protein content in red meat. It is not a wine to drink on its own. You need food with it. Yeah. In fact, just now I'm going to take a beautiful chicken stew, which has been slow cooked for 1.5 hours. Chicken with the bones and everything, with a good chicken stock, uh, and vegetables with it. And definitely it's going to match the umami in the food with the umami in the wine. But it's not very high in protein, chicken. So it's not going to be the best bet. I would have preferred to do a beef stew, yeah, with this wine, because beef has much, much more higher levels of protein. Yeah. I hope you're satisfied with today's session. If you have any questions, please feel free to write in this Facebook page of Aaron's Wine Talk, or subscribe on YouTube, Aaron Ritson. You can easily find me if you just type in my name, and any questions that you may have in wine. I am here free to help you and give you any advice that you would like. Thank you for listening, and I see you very tomorrow for wine number 4. Thank you very much.